What's going on, everybody, and welcome back into the Brenden Schaeffer Fantasy Football channel. Make sure to hit that subscribe button for Dynasty content and tons of redraft content coming later this summer as we mock draft the living crap out of the 2024 Fantasy Football draft season. Lots of mocks on the way. We're starting, though, with a rookie draft today because with the NFL draft in the rearview mirror now a couple of weeks ago, folks around the country are doing their dynasty drafts, getting those rookies off the boards and onto your fantasy rosters. So I'm going to start putting some content like this out there. I know the channel has been dormant for a while, but I am excited now to get back after it. And we'll start here with putting ourselves in the middle. Let's just go with the number 7 spot. And let me know in the comments below if you have a particular draft slot you would like me to mock. The settings that I've put together here are Dynasty, 2 quarterback settings. I believe half PPR is assumed here on the standard sleeper mock draft. And we're just going to get things rolling and draft here from the 7th spot and see how it goes. So going to click it on here. Hopefully the sound works. It is not too overwhelming. There we go. Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Jaden Daniels, Rome Odunze, and Brock Bowers go off the board 1 through 6. And I think that's 100% right. I think the order on some of those names you could decide one way or another. But those are the names, to me, that belong in the top 6. I understand that some might be compelled to take a quarterback. Drake May didn't land in a great spot at the New England Patriots for a lot of people to believe he'll have immediate success. But remember last year, I feel like we weren't all in on C.J. Stroud from day one because we said, it's the Texans. Does he really have the weapons? Is he going to have immediate success? And lo and behold, he did have the weapons. He did have immediate success. And now universally, people would rather have him than Bryce Young, who was the number 1 pick. So don't necessarily sleep on Drake May. I like the connection with J.J. McCarthy having Justin Jefferson in his disposal. But if you're in a spot where you don't necessarily need a quarterback, I don't think it's crazy to go Xavier Worthy here. The new target of the Kansas City Chiefs, he should have the ability to have an immediate impact because of a potential suspension looming for Rashee Rice. And we know the Chiefs had a lot of issues at wide receiver last year. You're connected to Patrick Mahomes for the foreseeable future. I'm going to take my shot on Xavier Worthy in this mock draft at 1.7 with the assumption that I've got 3 quarterbacks in a Superflex format that I feel good about because I think Xavier Worthy is a guy that legitimately could be in my starting lineup even as a hopeful contender this season in fantasy football. Whereas if Drake May or J.J. McCarthy is my 4th quarterback, I don't necessarily think I'm looking to use those guys in this coming season or maybe even the year after it. It depends on your quarterback situation. I think it's a coin toss between May and McCarthy as far as I'm concerned, but I like Worthy in that spot. We'll look elsewhere. Let me see if I can pause this draft so we can talk about it for just a minute. Brian Thomas goes off the board after the 2 quarterbacks at number 10. I'm not finding myself as high on him. If I were in that 10 spot and had to pick where the Brian Thomas pick selection happened, I would have taken either Jonathan Brooks if I was in need of a running back, but most likely I'd have gone Ladd McConkey. Find myself very high on Ladd McConkey. Got sniped in one of my Dynasty rookie drafts recently. He went at the 111, or it might have even been the 110. I was sitting at the 111. Somebody traded up to the 110, and I wasn't able to get McConkey, at which point I made a pick that may be a little bit controversial, but I went with Keon Coleman at that point at the 111 in my draft. But if you're in need of a running back, absolutely, I think Jonathan Brooks is the one name in this rookie class that you can really believe is going to step right into an immediate workload. And depends on what you think about Bryce Young and that Carolina offense. But I do not think highly of Miles Sanders or anybody else in that running back core. They spent the draft capital on Jonathan Brooks. I think he's going to step right in and have a role. And a lot of times, the role is all you need at the running back position in the NFL. The talent can take over and do the rest. So I don't mind that pick, but I generally am looking more wide receiver when I'm building a roster in Dynasty. So that's why I would go Ladd McConkey there at the 1.10. Brooks versus Brian Thomas is a tough decision as well. There's no more Calvin Ridley in Jacksonville, but I also, depends on how much you think of Gabe Davis, probably not very much, but he's there now. They still have who they have, Christian Kirk. Lost my train of thought there for a second. So it's a bit of a crowded room in Jacksonville. Can Brian Thomas emerge? He certainly can. I prefer Ladd McConkey, though, to Brian Thomas, where you have, I think, a more obvious path to leading the team in targets. I think Ladd McConkey has that with the Chargers. in a post-Keenan Allen world and a post-Mike Williams universe out there in Los Angeles. So I would go McConkey 10, and I would probably take him over McCarthy as well. I might even move him up as high as number 8, depending on my quarterback situation with my team. But your mileage may vary on that because I understand quarterbacks are often highly, highly valued by the public in Superflex leagues. For me, I just want to have 3. I want to have 2 that I feel good about every week and then 1 that I can plug in for bye week circumstances. But if my third quarterback is in that tier of, say, a Baker Mayfield or even an older Matt Stafford, guys that I think are going to be pretty good and serviceable for the next couple few years, but they may not have the shine on them as much as a younger player like a Trevor Lawrence, maybe even a Bryce Young. Like if he's my quarterback 3, I'm okay with that because I think Bryce Young can still emerge and have a nice career, but he's going to have to do it quickly or we're going to pretty much begin to bail on him. Looking into the second round, Trey Benson, I like that pick. I do believe he's the second running back that I would be looking at ahead of guys like Blake Corum and really anybody else on the list at running back. James Conner is the only competition there in Arizona. He's going to be legit competition in the early going. I don't know how much time Trey Benson's going to see right away, but if something should happen to Conner, which is often the case, or if he just kind of ages out of his production, Trey Benson with a Kyler Murray-led offense, and they've reestablished the offense with guys like Marvin Harrison Jr. coming in. I like the Trey Benson pick. I would personally go Keon Coleman ahead of Benson. Obviously, I just mentioned go Keon Coleman ahead of Brian Thomas in one of my real drafts and ahead of Jonathan Brooks as well. I think Keon Coleman might be good, but I really like the opportunity tied to Josh Allen, he's gonna need to sling it around. He's gonna need to make plays, and it could be a Keon Coleman / Dalton Kincaid led effort there in Buffalo. I understand they've went out and gotten some talent to put around those two, but I've seen a number of those guys, like a Chase Claypool just doesn't really excite me. Curtis Samuel, okay, he might pick up a lot of targets over the middle. Keon Coleman has a chance. I don't know if he's good. I don't know if his skills are going to translate to the NFL, but I like the landing spot. And also, if you happen to see his interview after being drafted, seems like a fun guy to kind of root for. Was eating the media cookies on the media snack table, asking if he could take some with him, and talking about the coat that he bought on sale. Like, he just seems like an interesting sort of character. I like guys I can root for on my dynasty teams. Quarterback, Bo Nix is the next to come off the board, and then we see Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver out of Florida, goes to the 49ers. I think Pearsall is really interesting. I don't know where he's going to go in a lot of these drafts, but I might even be compelled to take him up ahead of I know I keep dropping Brian Thomas down my board, but I like Pearsall maybe even a little bit more than Xavier Legette, because I do believe that Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk is going to be gone from San Francisco within the next 12 months, and that could mean wheels up for Ricky Pearsall in a very good Kyle Shanahan offense. Okay, we talked enough about the picks that we saw come off the board. We need to make another one of our own, and I probably shouldn't have unloaded this board. Give me a second here. Give me a second so we can talk about the board that we're looking at. A.D. Mitchell is at the top of the ADP here. We're still looking at Michael Penix undrafted. Look, my stance on Michael Penix is it's unfortunate that he landed in a place that has a set quarterback for the next several years in Kirk Cousins. We know the situation there. It was a weird decision that was made by the Falcons, but they have to do whatever they believe is best for their franchise. Unfortunately for fantasy football, it means that Michael Penix is just not somebody that I consider viable. Reminds me of the Hendon Hooker pick, and I made that pick in one of my dynasty leagues last year, and obviously regretting it now after the Jared Goff extension. It's just one of those things that in the late second round, I felt like I had no backup quarterbacks, and I was aging out of some of the guys on my team. I had Aaron Rodgers and Justin Fields, and still seeing the writing on the wall for both those guys. I tried to take a swing, and it didn't work out. But I'm just not compelled to do that with Michael Penix. I think it's unfortunate for fantasy that he went where he went, but that's the situation. That leaves, if you want to go running back, Blake Corum is an option. I think Jalen Polk is interesting because he's going to have opportunities in New England. It's just going to depend on what you think of Drake May. This is something you could certainly do. At the 1.7, if you want and you need a quarterback, you could draft Drake May, and you could stack him with Jalen Polk. I didn't draft Drake May, obviously, at the 7. I took Xavier Worthy, so I am not going to do that in this spot. But I think it would absolutely, if I drafted May, I would be really hoping for Polk to land there in the second round to me. Little bit of a reach on draft board ADP, but that's not something you always need to pay too much attention to. Adonai Mitchell, A.D. Mitchell is somebody that I did take in one of my rookie drafts. I think it was a little bit later than the 2.6 pick, but and again, this is a mistake, something I wish I would have been able to do and switch up is the notion that I did not set this to be a straight draft. I set it as a snake. I wonder if I can change that midstream. Looks like I can. Gosh dang, Sleeper, you are on top of it. So as a result of that, we've talked for several minutes about the last pick, and we're not going to get to make it until Team 6 goes. So A.D. Mitchell going off the board. This is more realistic because your rookie drafts are not going to be situations like having snakes. That's just not going to be part of the mix. So as a result of that, it does make our decision a little bit different. I think A.D. Mitchell is a tier above. I like the landing spot with Anthony Richardson. I'm excited for him. But as a result of him going off the board one pick before me, I'm not going to go running back. If you need one, Blake Corum, I think, is an excellent choice. I would be a little bit worried about Kyren Williams having a stranglehold. He's not somebody, Kyren, that I'm going to be targeting heavily in redraft if he's still a round 2 or round 3 pick, just because of the reality of I think what could happen to his situation with a Blake Corum coming into play. Sorry about that. We were having some issues with the clock. It was going the whole time. Nevertheless, I'm going to go ahead and take a swing a little bit lower on the draft board. Running out of time here. Hold on a second. I missed my pick. Let's pause. Let's regroup because I'm not taking Michael Penix. That's something that I won't be doing. Jalen Polk is definitely interesting. Jalen Wright is somebody that I almost did try to click there when I thought I was under the gun. Jalen Wright, if you need a running back, to me, I think I might take him over Blake Corum. Reasoning being Miami Dolphins, high-flying, explosive rushing offense and passing offense. And we saw what Devon Achane was able to do as a rookie last year. And injuries happen in that offense. And I think Raheem Mostert is on the other side of effectiveness for his career. I'm going to bet against him this year. If you bet against him last year, you lost because when he was healthy, he was really productive. But Jalen Wright, I feel like explosive, speedy running back out of Tennessee. Really like him. If you need a tight end, I don't mind Ben Sinnott, however you say his name. Malachi Corley is going to walk right into an opportunity in the slot for the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers. He's very interesting. I like Jermaine Burton, too. I'm hoping to get Burton or maybe Corley. I don't think it's going to necessarily happen, though, at my next pick. So I really have to decide from this group. Don't play the ADP game. Pick who you really believe is going to give you your best shot. And, boy, that's an interesting one. Troy Franklin, don't ignore him with Bo Nix, but I'm not really a huge Bo Nix believer. His collegiate quarterback, I like Roman Wilson. This is an area where you can't really go wrong. I'm going to swing for the fences, though, because I went for running back, or pardon me, I went for wide receiver with my first pick. The second pick, I am going to go with Jalen Wright. He's somebody I picked up in real rookie drafts, and I'm happy to have him in this mock. And the way the board fell, we're really a big fan of it because look at the run on running backs that happened right after our Jalen Wright pick. We basically started that run. Blake Corum happens. They clean up the Troy Franklin and the Jalen Polk picks, which I think those are going to be guys you often see going round 2. Anytime someone else is taking Penix, I'm a fan of it. Then we see Lloyd, Bucky, Irving, Ray Davis, and Vidal of the Chargers go. Vidal is a guy that's been climbing up draft boards because there is going to be opportunity there for him in a post-Austin Eckler universe in Los Angeles. Roman Wilson, I like. I think that the Steelers historically have done an amazing job of drafting day 2, day 3 wide receivers, so he's probably going to be a good one out of Michigan. But here, I'm left with some good options. I like Malachi Corley. I like Jermaine Burton. I'm going to take Burton because I think it's a bet on T. Higgins ending up somewhere else next year than Buffalo. And keep in mind that Tyler Boyd is already gone from Buffalo. So as much as I really do like Malachi Corley, who goes with the next pick, and I did pick Malachi Corley relatively early. I think I actually took him in the second round in a league where I do have Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback, so I kind of went for the stack of his potential slot man. That's a guy that I like, but I like Burton. Burton's kind of rising on my board as I kind of look over things and prepare for my next round of rookie drafts. So that's where we are. Some more quarterbacks go off the board. Spencer Rattler, Joe Milton, Jordan Travis. You know, you might be kind of wasting those picks. Lots of late tight end flyers. I do think Theo Johnson is interesting after Darren Waller retired there in New York. But the round 4 name that I continue to come back to, I think McMillan is interesting. Luke McCaffrey, if you want to go with the bloodline there, with the McCaffrey family is obviously a good way to go. The name that keeps jumping out to me, and I'm going to pick him pretty much every time in this area, is Devontae Walker. Out of North Carolina, he had some eligibility issues when he was in college, so maybe doesn't end up with as much of a high draft capital as you would have otherwise thought. But I think the talent is there and the landing spot is there for Devontae Walker. going to Baltimore to be paired with to be paired with Lamar Jackson. Yes, it's a situation where he does have competition. They re-signed Bateman. Rashad Bateman is re-signed. You have obviously Mark Andrews there, so it's not necessarily a guarantee that Devontae Walker is going to have a ton of immediate opportunity. But I like the landing spot in a potentially explosive offense. Zay Flowers is obviously the guy that's going to lead that receiving core coming into his second year. He's already an alpha. But I like Devontae Walker. I think he's got the talent to be able to mix in the middle of the fourth round. He's the last wide receiver off the board in this mock. I feel very, very good about that. So let me know what you think of this mock draft to come away with Xavier Worthy, Jermaine Burton, Devontae Walker, and then one running back in Jalen Wright, who might be, look, he's the fourth running back off the board in this draft. I kind of have him in that same tier with Benson because I think it's a similar situation, talent level similar, draft capital somewhat similar, and you have a backup running back. The benefit for Benson is that he could become the starter sooner rather than later with an aging James Conner, and Devon Achane is a star that sits in front of Jalen Wright. But I also believe that Jalen Wright can mix into snaps right away, especially if he can outdo Raheem Mostert, which I know that coaching staff likes him. I believe he's still there. But I think Jalen Wright is the plan for after Mostert, sort of is ushered out. And we also know that Devon Achane, as a smaller, speedy guy, can sometimes sustain injuries, and that is going to open up a world of opportunity for Jalen Wright. Love that pick in the second round. I don't think it's a reach. It's an example of you just got to get your guy. And like I said, you look at the running back run that happened thereafter. If you're running back needy, middle of the second round for Jalen Wright feels pretty good. I love this draft haul. If you are drafting from that middle spot, it's because you either traded for the picks or you were sort of a borderline contender. You were a team that barely snuck into the playoffs and maybe didn't do anything once you got there. But this is a type of draft haul that I think could help you get that dynasty roster going in a hurry. So let me know what you think of the haul. Let me know what the next draft video you think I should do should be. And we're going to be firing up this channel. So if you haven't subscribed, do so. I started this thing last summer, and immediately it shot up to 600 subscribers. But I need to get it to 1,000 in order to monetize this thing. So I'm going to be putting a lot of content out there, and hopefully you guys will join me for the ride. Thank you for joining for this video, and we'll talk to you next time on the Brenden Schaeffer the Brenden Schaeffer Fantasy Football channel. I also cover the St. Louis Cardinals as a writer there, so that's my other channel. That's why I flubbed the talk there at the end. Okay, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you, guys. Peace.